Yo, what's up, everybody, and welcome to Underexposed. My name is Phil. I'm your host. Today, I have a very special guest with me. But before we get into that, I want to thank every single one of you guys. Some of you have reached out to me and encouraged me and thanked me for the previous episode, which was Facing My Fear. And I'm very grateful for all of you that listen, all of you outside of the country, all of you in the country. Thank you guys, all your support. I do want to say that I am doing a lot better. I'm doing my best to try to keep everything consistent. So today I have a very special guest with me. I grew up here in Sacramento, California, US of A. And I've been, just doing life. I met this guy when I was in my teens. I'm pretty sure he was in his early 20s when we met. Because you're a bit older than me, but not by much. Not by much. Doesn't mean he's not old, guys. He's good. But yeah. So introduce yourself, my boy Robert.
Well, my name is Robert, of course. Just thankful for getting to know you as building our friendship for all these years. Like you said, I grew up in Sacramento. Just living life, the God's plan for my life. I had a rough start when I was growing up. A lot of my life, I had a rough start, rough childhood. Not saying I lived like a rough hostile environment, but no, just growing up as being just situations in my life where I had to overcome situations where I had to do things on my own. I had a lovely family. People around me were very loving. I still go to House of Blessings where I met you.
Sure.
But there's a point in my life where when I was growing up, I was a very heavy set person where I just had a tough time growing up, had a tough time overcoming a lot of obstacles in my life. I
do remember when we first met. This was probably like 2014, 2013. That's like almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You weren't as big as me as I am now, which is quite an inspiration because I see you and I'm like, man, I want that body. But I know you did a lot of hard work. You did you're suffering,
Yeah, and man, I went through pain, sweat, and tears to
right
overcome just everything. And a lot of people ask me for advice and how'd you do it? Why'd you do it? Everyone wants to know the story. Why did you do it?
Just gotta get depressed.
Yeah, you just gotta fight the good fight. But at a young age, growing up in Sacramento, I went to high school, elementary school, middle school, high school, getting making fun of. I went through so much mentally. I was getting made fun of by people that I thought were my friends, certain family members that would constantly put me down. And once it was hard, and I always kept a good smile. And behind that smile, we never know as life what people is actually going through behind that smile. And so me personally, I was going through so much. I moved out when I was 22, 23. I moved out on my own.
Right.
And then that's where I knew oh man, this is tough.
Yeah.
This is tough. It's not that it was tough I was making it on my own. That was not the problem. It was me being alone.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, I'm alone. This is tough.
Definitely. Alone,
my mentally wasn't there. I'm oversized. I'm getting depressed. The enemy's putting suicidal thoughts in my head. My people that are my friends. Oh, dude, go drink this, go smoke this, go do this to find your peace. And I was going to church, but
I mean,
it wasn't. It's like people go to church, but live a totally different lifestyle. Unless your relationship is not there with God, that's what changes your life. And my relationship with God wasn't there. Mm-hmm. I will go to church, but be totally different. I will go to church, show this smile, because my family will go there. I have cousins that will go there. I will go to church, but
it kind of goes to show that church isn't necessarily the solution all the time. a lot of the times the solution is just to look at yourself.
Yeah. And it's like you said, you go to church, but it's all about your mentality, how much you want to change in your life. And when I was going through it in the tough times, when I was reaching my deepest hole where I was about to call it quits, that's when God sent me, he put certain people in my life to guide me, certain leaders, certain mentors, certain people that made me realize that, hey, you have a purpose. And I'm like, why? And I went through so many things, and like, I should have been dead or in jail a long time ago. I did a lot of certain things that I'm not proud of, but God helped me pass through all those situations, obstacles, just to help me get where I'm at today.
Yeah.
And that's what surprises me now is like, I remember one of my leaders once told me that everyone has a story. It's important to know that story, because you never know what your story could reach others. Yeah. And me realizing now everything I went through in my past, going to now, how much I overcome, if it was I overcome my mentality, I overcome my mindset, I overcome my depression, my anxiety, all the things I was going through, overcome all those things. It was for a reason.
Yeah.
And that's where I said one of my closest Bible verses I always go to, and I always tell all the students that I was going through things, is that you don't know now, but soon you don't understand. Meaning, we don't understand God's plan. Sometimes we question it. I'm like, why is this happening to me, God? Why am I going through these certain things in my life where either you're going through it, I don't know why, but later on when God helps you overcome those, understand. So it's important to remain in Him, remain steadfast, remain to understand in Him, because He will guide you through everything. You know, and it's just grateful. I'm just so grateful that I had parents that kept me in prayer. I had leaders that didn't give up on me. I'm glad that I opened my eyes on the people around me, because your life will end up around the people you're surrounded with. Yeah. Let's say, for example, if you're surrounding yourself with a bunch of alcoholics and drugs, you're going to end up around the next.
That's where one of my mom's sayings, or I don't know if it's biblical or not, but she makes it sound like it is tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are.
Yeah, and that's so true, because I see, and right now who I hang out with, I'm always around church people, better leaders, better people that has the same kind of mindset as I am, and I recognize my past. Right. I'm like, man, I can't believe I was around this group of people. I can't believe I was doing all these such things. Yeah. And so, then,
my bad. I didn't.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I want to kind of, because we're closer to where you are now. Yeah. And I kind of want to backtrack to, let's look at your life, like, from the beginning, and then up until now. Right. So, I know this is kind of changing the topic and all that. It's not really. It's still all about you. Nice. But what city did you grow up in? Did you travel much?
Oh man. So I was born in Sacramento, California, but I grew up in Southside for a little bit of my younger age. Then I moved to Natomas, and that's where I grew up in the Natomas area, North Sac. I was always around in the decent neighborhood. It wasn't like the ghetto, It was not like living in South Sac. It's just South Sac was kind of ghetto, Right.
But so around what age did you move out of South Sac?
South Sac, I moved out. We moved out of South Sac when I was like 4 to 5, and then that's when I moved to North Natomas. Okay. I lived a little bit in Yuba City just because my stepdad's family. I stayed out there for a little bit, and then we moved. Majority of my life it was North Natomas.
So what was the school system like in North Natomas?
North Natomas, I went to a high school in Rio Linda High School, where it was just, at that time it was like country ghetto. Yeah. It was a lot of different races, where it's just like you see the changes of how different races are. Cultural different culture differences. I used to go to the bathrooms, there'll be no stall doors, there'll be graffiti everywhere. It's just different kind of lifestyle it was. If you go to high schools now, like
it's all clean.
They have kids are small. Now. I was like, when I was in high school, there's big old people. Like people were huge to me.
Yeah.
And now if you go to school, it's like people are tiny.
It's like they're shrinking.
It's like they're shrinking.
They're running out of ink.
Yeah, they're running out of ink.
So you said the school system is kind of country ghetto. What did you get into a lot of trouble as a kid?
I wasn't really a troublemaker. Me personally, I was like I was very innocent, very humble, very innocent. I was very I wouldn't say nerdy. I would just like go to class, go home. Ran into my older sister here and there whenever she wanted to say hi or not, or she would walk by like she didn't even know me. Things like that.
Decent grades.
Different
I know the
grades.
Lifestyle. I've been there.
So I was always that little brother where she just like, I'm gonna go this way.
Yeah.
So I was always that that little brother. Oh, you're because my older sister is Elizabeth. So, oh, you're Elizabeth's little brother. So I was always that little brother kind of image. And so I always kind of did my own thing. I had a little group of friends, but I would say I would just always kept to myself.
Like a handful of friends.
But I always kind of kept to myself. I was that kind of kid that would go, when it's lunch, I wouldn't run to the
with your arms behind your back, like Naruto style.
And then go to the library, and that's how I am.
Yeah.
And so I always, then past high school, I ended up keep doing the same thing.
Sure.
I would always get to myself. Always stay.
Around what point in your life do you think? Because you said you were kind of like an innocent kid. You kind of stuck to yourself. At one point in your life, do you think you lost your innocence?
Probably when I hit my early 20s. When I hit my early 20s, when I started living on my own, that's when I stopped being that innocent kid. And once I started living in the world, knowing what's out there, I saw what the world has to offer.
Yeah.
And when I moved out, that's when I saw, okay, there's these things, and there's these things you gotta face that comes your way. It's not, people think when you grow up, when you're an adult, it's not just your financing you had to fight. You had to fight everything that's going on in the world. There's so much things you had to like fight against, which if it's like A through Z, So that's when I feel like once I moved out, once I started living on my own, that's when the trials came.
Yeah.
That's when the real difficulties came.
And besides drinking, what else were you consuming?
It wasn't. I don't want to feel like I was like a drug addict, No, to me, I was drinking at the time, but I was, smoking weed, doing things like I shouldn't be doing. I was either smoking or selling things like that where I shouldn't be doing. Or I'm around people I shouldn't be hanging out with. I was around dealers. I was around all the situations where, why am I here? I remember
what made you be there?
Friends that were my friends. I wanted to fit in because, like I said, in high school, I was always that nerdy outcast. And then now that I finally got people that I thought were my friends,
right?
I wanted to fit in. And then I was living a lifestyle that I shouldn't be living. I remember that when I was high and I started preaching. I started like, oh man, we need to do this, we need to do that. And I was like, what am I doing?
Right.
I need to give my life back to God. This is not me.
Did the preaching work at least?
Well, to them, not to them, but to me, some got the knowledge I was saying. Some went through a wall. It's like a wall. You're like talking to a wall because, when you're in that moment, I just remember like it's yesterday. It's like it's like the Holy Spirit, God's telling me in my mind, like, what are you doing? This is not me.
Right.
This is not where I'm meant to be. This is not what God wants for me. This is not what my family wants for me. I know I was made for a better purpose.
Would you say that was related more as a guilty conscience, or was it like a literal feeling of what God is telling you. Because obviously there's a point where you go to church as your parents bring you to church growing up and all that, and you don't really believe, but you go because your parents make you go. Yeah. And then now what you're saying is that there's an audible voice where you feel like God's talking to you. Yeah,
and that's what it was, because it's more than, like, it's like you said, for majority of my life, I was going to church because I had cousins that go, or I'll go to a church because I wanted to see my cousins, or I wanted to see somebody I liked, or at that time, or I was going because of my parents. I didn't have that relationship until I fully was finally getting it a little bit, but I was still living of the world, Sure. And so when I was living of the world and I was doing things I should be doing, but I knew of God. I was taking those little steps to gain more knowledge of God, gain more. That's when I started hearing God, hearing the Holy Spirit.
Do you have like a specific memory of when you knew for a fact that you decided to believe in God?
Like I said, I always believed in God. I always knew there was a higher power. Okay. I always believed in God, but I never built my relationship with Him.
Okay.
And then I never built my spiritually. I never grew spiritually. I never grew with Him. And then that's why when I started, like, gaining my knowledge, getting in the Word, praying more. I remember there was one Sunday at church where I don't know, I forgot what the message was about, but they were singing a certain song that just hit me hard. There's always that one worship song that hits you hard, and then I went to the altar and I just broke down. I broke down because I was physically tired. I was physically tired of living the lifestyle I was living. I was physically tired of everything I was going through, and I know the enemy was telling me thoughts in my head that, just, you're no good, end it all, no one loves you, things like that, no one cares. And that's what the enemy was putting in my head, that I'm not enough. But then I felt the true love of God holding me like, I'm here for you. Yeah. And I'm like, then I knew, like, okay, and then where should I start? Mm-hmm. Where should I start? I don't know where. So I was lost. I'm a big dude, and I finally taking those steps to get closer to God. And I remember I woke up one morning and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm done.
Right.
I threw all the trash away, meaning all the stuff away that I shouldn't be doing, everything away. I threw up all the garbage in my refrigerator. I stopped with the junk food, stopped with the drinking, stopped with a bunch of stuff that I shouldn't be doing. And stop the stuff I was eating that I shouldn't be eating, and I just stayed consistent. I stopped talking to certain people that I was talking to at that time moment. I started hanging out with the
What was that process like? Because I'm pretty sure they hit you up, and then
the problem, my biggest thing, and sometimes people still hit me up like, oh, you think, and people always like to pull that card, oh, you think you're all holy because you go to church. Oh, you think you're all holy and other than now, though? Oh, you think you better? Like, no, it's not that I'm better. It's just I know I have a greater purpose, and I can't.
Yeah, I am better, not than you, but than me.
Yeah,
I'm better than I was.
Yeah, better than I was.
That's the response.
And then there's a if you look in the Bible, there was 11 of the disciples died for the gospel.
Yeah.
11 of the disciples died for the gospel. They were hated by many. And so, and made me realize that people are going to hate me for my beliefs.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter about my Instagram likes. Things of this world doesn't matter.
Right.
The only likes that truly matters from God.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter who likes me or who's going to hate me, because people are going to hate. I can't please everybody. Sure. Because I was always that person that I wanted to make people happy.
That's definitely something that I can relate to. Because I've had several people, like, even when I started the podcast, and several people hit me up, like, or let me know, like, oh, you keep doing it, you're going to get big, you're going to get famous. And my mind would go to, like, I'm not doing it to be famous.
Yeah.
Like,
you're doing it because you like it. It's what you do. You want to.
When people wish certain good things on you, it kind of tells you what they prioritize or what they idolize.
That's true.
If people wish prosperity for you to get rich, it's because their heart wants to get rich.
Right.
If people wish fame on you, it's because they want fame.
Yeah.
And so really what it comes down to, it's like, I'm at a point where I just kind of wish dexterity on people, where they can go through with what they know they should go through. Because that's what I want. I want to go through what I know I should go through.
Yeah.
And I relate a lot to the making friends that I had no business making, and hanging out with people that I had no business hanging out with just to fit in.
Yeah.
I relate with being pretty much innocent up until, I lost my innocence probably a little bit sooner than you did, but just out of probably like 16, 17 years old is kind of when I stopped being innocent. I had more of a mindset of like wanting to do things. Just
and what made you want to change?
What made me want to change was life or death, man.
Yeah.
I had moments of vulnerability with God, and then I still left church. And I remember telling my leaders at the time, by the way, I'm leaving church. And before you try to convince me not to, I'm going to go sin because I like sin. I enjoy this party life. I'm going to go drink. I'm going to go smoke. You're going to see this all over my social media. So I straight up told everybody, like, this is what I'm going to be up to. And all they could say was, sounds like you made your mind up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even though I had already decided to believe in God, I was so angry with how my life was turning out that I decided to still go and do all of the partying, all of the drinking, the smoking, all kinds of drugs and stuff. Just because out of spite, because I never had a regular childhood. I saw all my friends, or all the people that I thought were my friends, they did all kinds of stuff. And I was like, why can't I?
Yeah.
And I was angry. Not only that, but I was different everywhere. Like at home, I was a different kid. At church, I was this playful person that full of joy and played bass and was all about the music. And then at school, it'd be a whole different thing. I was this lonely, silent kid. At work, I'd cuss up a storm because I did construction, and construction workers cuss like sailors, and I didn't want to stand out, So I started cussing more, learning how to talk differently, start smoking cigarettes. So even though I had already decided to believe in God, I still did a lot of bad things. Yeah. Even knowing that there was repercussions for it, and I did it to fit in. Mm-hmm. And I think that for me, the whole, coming back to God happened like as a wake up call. Because I was going through a deep depression. I was with all kinds of girls and sleeping around. I was just enjoying my whole phase. And, thank God I have a wife now and kids and all that.
And that's the beauty of, because I was the same way. I was that kid that, I was that different, and the society nowadays makes you want to know it's weird that you're different. And
so then you believe the lie.
And then you believe the lie. You believe that what people are saying. Oh, Felipe, Robert, they're weird.
I had 2-3 girls, and I felt cool with the fact that I could pull up my phone and I have options. Yeah. But not really, because none of them wanted me for me. Yeah. They all wanted something out of me, either my money or the fun. If I was gonna invite them to something serious, no. Attention. Yeah. They wanted attention. That's a good word for it. They wanted just stuff from me. Yeah. And I was okay with giving that. Yeah. I was okay with doing that. But at the end of the day, did I really have the companionship? Yeah. Was I really not alone? Yeah. No, I was lonely as hell, dude. I was tripping. And so the depression hit. I went through this whole phase where I wanted to die. I went through all of that, and then I got cancer. Mm-hmm. I got lung cancer. And that was the biggest wake up call for me. I've talked about it on my other podcasts, but just to kind of summarize over it is all the smoking, plus I had asthma as a kid, plus it was God who wanted me to get sick because he was like, I mean, you playing games, you already know me.
It's like God let certain things for a reason.
Sure.
Lets things something happen. God gives things, gives and then takes away certain things in your life, you know.
Exactly. And for me, it was God saying, you know what, you're playing too much. Yeah. And so I had no choice other than to do what God wanted me to do.
Yeah, that's so true.
And then once I came back to God, things obviously are working out way better.
No, yeah, things always work out way better when you give fully, just let go and give everything to God. You know, of course, sometimes like you slip or the things come to your head like, oh, you know. That's when you need to stay strong the most. That's when you need to, because the enemy comes like a roaring lion, waiting to, you know, prey and see who he could devour, you know. Right. And that's where we need to stay more strong with God. Stay strong with the Holy Spirit. Stay strong in the Word. You know, you go on your daily lives, trying to move forward, trying to progress. We're not perfect, but we strive to keep moving forward. We strive to keep progressing.
Oh yeah, in no way are we perfect at all.
You know, we're here beyond perfect. We all fall short, and that's the glory of it.
Some of us a little too much.
Yeah, a little bit too much.
For sure, yeah.
But that's just how beautiful how God and life is. You know, we go through certain trials in our lives to bring us down, but we learn from those mistakes. A lot of people say, "Oh, dwell in the past." But I feel like you can't just let it go. Right. Yeah, you're not going to go do what you're going to do, what you used to do, but you done in the past because it's important to understand your story. Yeah. It's to understand what the trials and the situations you went through in your life. Because Felipe, you might not, today you're talking to me, but tomorrow you might run into somebody that went through what you went through in the past. Yeah, you know, and then you could help someone that's broken, someone that you ran into randomly, but you never knew he was just on his way to commit suicide, or you never. For sure. Because I ran into situations where like I randomly felt like I remember like so for example, long story short, over from my dad, we do appliances deliveries for customers. Yeah. So I remember I shared the stories to a couple of leaders that. When this fast forward a little bit in my life where I started developing my relationship more strongly with God, and I delivered to this mom's house, this customer's house, single wife, I believe, at the time, where she was moving things around. She was construction, but I felt like she was emotional, and I'm like. Installing the refrigerator behind her line. She's very quiet. She's crying. She's like emotionally unstable. And I feel like God's telling me, talk to her about me. I was like, me? I don't know, you know? Yeah. It's not the right image. Sometimes, you know, people either just take it a good, nice way. You know, she's a woman. I'm a man. What if, you know, all these doubt start coming to my head. All
these thoughts of like, why not to do it?
What not to do. And so I remember, like, you know what? I'm just go for it. God's telling me to talk to this lady. I'm gonna tell her. And I remember going up to her when I was getting her signed after I did the whole job. I remember, like it was yesterday, that I said, ma'am, I pulled up this one song that at that moment it always touched my heart, and help, and it's The Blessing. Mm-hmm. And so I told this lady, I said, ma'am, I don't know exactly what you're going through, but I feel like this song always touches my heart when I'm at my lowest points. And I feel like this song will touch yours. And she just looked at me and it's about to get emotional. I said, you don't have to listen to it now, but when you have time, you know, listen to the song. She's like, oh, thank you. And she gave me like a awkward side hug. Yeah. You know? But fast forward a little bit that day, like 30 minutes later, she gives me a call. And this is on the phone. I just want to say thank you so much for that video. I just got listening to the song and I'm in so much tears. I was going to this church. It was in Roseville. She goes to some big church in Roseville, and she said she was going through a divorce. The long story short, she was going through a divorce. The husband kept everything. She has a far friend. She felt like she was alone and broken. And from me showing her that video, helped her realize that God's still with her.
Yeah.
And then I remember I gave her some encouragement. I gave her some leadership. I directed her to certain Bible verses that will, I even invite her to church, but she was always, I didn't want to be that person, come to my church,
Right.
So if she's already dedicated to her church, I don't want to be that, you got to come to my church,
Yeah.
But no, I wish her the best. I said, God bless you. I wish you good luck with your life and your movement. Now I had never ran into her. She never called me back, but for me, taking that step on helped to change life.
You were just God's messenger at
God's
that point.
messenger at the moment. And sometimes I think
want to appreciate that, a lot of people want the stories of like, I talked to someone who was a non-believer and then they gave their life to Christ. That's cool. That's very fulfilling. I still think it's dope when God will come through for another believer.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we get confirmations all the time. My wife and I we're just in the car. We see something and then we just finished praying about a certain thing. And this one image or whatever we saw will remind us. And it's like, God doesn't just care about the sinners.
Yeah.
He cares about, technically we're all sinners. So
we all fall short,
So I want to appreciate the fact that even though it wasn't like a non-believer, even though it was another, person of faith, and regardless of where they are in their walk, God was able to use you,
man,
because you were willing.
Yeah.
You could have, listened to the voices and been like, nah, that's weird.
Yeah.
Because I've done that.
Yeah.
I know for a fact I've done that. And I've had the same kind of moments with where I feel like God is telling me to tell specific things to a homeowner where I'm working and I'm like remodeling a kitchen, and they break down in tears, and it turns into like a 2-week project instead of a 1-week project, because the whole week we're just talking about their life, and I'm trying to like give them scriptures, and then they end up being also believers, or it's crazy how God will do that. And I want to appreciate that, like just your willing heart to do that.
And
go ahead.
And there's so many. And that I actually got a lot of, I could go on me running into other believers. And that's why I tell people, like, once you develop that relationship with God, you have like this glow in you. You have this light. You show this light in you, where other people will recognize it. I remember this time I delivered to this, this older cholo looking guy in Woodland somewhere, and I'm just doing my thing. And then I didn't know he was a believer,
Right.
You look at him, you're like, oh,
He didn't look like the type of believer that you were used to.
Yeah, used to. Yeah. I was like, and then caught me off guard. And so he caught me off guard. He's like, oh, you're a believer, huh? I said, yeah, how you know? He's like, you just have this light. Yeah. And then we started talking about God. He told me how God changed his life and how he went from jail to, serving and doing all these amazing things. And I told him some of my story, and end up, and then I kind of like prayed that I say, God, forgive me for me, like not judging him, but kind of like,
right,
not realizing he was a believer because of his appearance.
And it's okay to call it judging. I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing. We make our judgments based on what we see.
Yeah.
And it's like if we see, let's say we're out in public and, some trouble's going down. Someone has a gun out. You see a dude with the police officer uniform. You're going to run to him and tell him there's a guy. And he's going to be like, I'm just wearing the uniform.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. It's okay to judge. And my bad, I thought you were a cop. You look like one. So when people dress a certain way, it's understandable for you to see them and say, you don't look like a believer, you know, or you don't look like what I'm used to seeing. And it doesn't mean anything bad. They're just at that moment in time, they're just dressed a certain way for whatever reason. Maybe that's how they feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Maybe that's how people stay away from them, or, know. I get that. I've definitely met some believers where I'm like, you?
You know Jesus?
Like recently I saw a post of this guy, and he's like all about Jesus, and he's talking, and he's all tatted in his face. He's got a clown thing going, and he gets the same thing all the time, where it's like a lot of people are like, "You believe in Jesus?" And he's like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, they're bad people or...
Yeah. And then that's where it's like,
yeah.
And we all went through like images in our life. I remember there was one time where I had a phase where I grew my hair out. I had all lined up. I had earrings. I was about to get all tatted up. And then I was serving in the church.
Yeah.
Until like God told me, it's like, and then I realized, what image do I want to bring? You know, to new believers that are coming. And so I took the earrings off. Like, thank God, I didn't get no tie. I only got like 3-4 ties. I was about to get all full sleeve, things like that. But I'm like, nah, you know what? Until now, like, I don't get no, it's nothing against tattoos or anything like that. But it just, you know, for me and the image I want to bring now, just like, it's very interesting to see now that how much like God could reach anybody, you know.
Yeah.
And even if you go back in the old times, Jesus didn't just hang out with, you know, the riches and the more flamboyant people. You know, he hung out with the worst of the worst. He hung out with the lowest of the lowest people. Right. And so that's where it's great to see that how much God could change not just certain people, but everybody. Yeah. You know, so, you know, it's good to see, you know, the changes people make in everybody's lives. And, you know, we continue to see the changes till now. But, you know, some people want to listen, some people don't. But it's important for us to just keep moving forward and keep making that changes that other people want to hear.
Yeah. I'm interested in learning more about your recovery process.
Yeah.
You know, I know that we kind of brushed over it.
That,
you know, like, and that's fine. But I am interested in learning more about your recovery process, not just the weight loss, but like, when you decided, okay, I need to change something. And I know that you probably didn't change everything all at once.
No.
And that's kind of what I want to highlight. I want to highlight where you decided to change and what you started changing and what you decided to keep doing.
At first, it was really just my physical. I wanted to reach a certain level. I wanted to look good, get a body that I never had, and just prove everybody wrong. I was getting a little hothead. And then, you know... And that's it happens, you know, you get to a certain body type and you feel like you're Mr. Macho, and then you still feel like I still feel broken.
Yeah.
So hold on now.
Because you're still caring about yourself.
Yeah. And I'm like, hold on now. Why am I still feeling all these situations when I look better now?
Yeah.
And then I realized, okay, I'm getting stronger physically, but my spiritual life is not there.
Yeah.
My mindset is not strong enough. I look good, but my mentality is not there. Mm-hmm. My mindset needs to be stronger. And so that's where I started talking to that's where people, that's where, you know, God put certain people in your life for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, that's when I started realizing, okay, there's something has to change. Something has to break. Something needs to come into my life that I need this change. What is it? And then I started praying. I was like, God, lead me what you want from me. Lead me to what the changes you want from me. And then I started praying more, started reaching out to certain leaders that I trust, and told my story, told them everything I was going through, and they guided me to where I was. But people can only guide you so much. It's all on you if you're gonna take all that guidance.
Yeah.
It's like the gym. Are you gonna stay consistent, or are you just gonna do it for a month and just go back what you're gonna do?
Yeah.
You know. So that's why I knew if I want these changes spiritually, physically, and everything, all these changes in my life, I knew it was gonna be a process. I knew it was gonna take time. I knew it wasn't gonna see results.
Was there something that took longer than the other?
I knew what took a little longer was my spiritual life.
What about your spiritual life?
My spiritual life, meaning like fully fully hearing God's voice in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was times where like I let fully things go, but there's like I wasn't still fully committing to God. Like, yeah, I was seeking Him and I was building my relationship, but I was still holding back out of a fear of change.
Fear of change.
Fear of change.
It was out of selfishness.
Selfishness, yeah.
You were comfortable.
Yeah, because I was comfortable the life I was. It was hard to let hold on now. I can't do this. I can't do that.
Yeah.
You're so used to living your comfortable life and you gotta let all that go. What?
Yeah.
And I got comfortable. But once I was like, realized like, you know, I don't need all this stuff to be happy. I don't need all these things in my life. If it's God's telling me to let all these things go, it's for a reason. How much all my life I disobey God. All my life I didn't listen to Him. Am I going to continue doing it when I know He helped me overcome all these situations for a purpose?
Yeah.
You know, like I said previously, I should have been locked up or dead a long time ago, but I made it all this ways for a purpose. Why am I going to continue ignoring that?
Yeah.
Am I going to keep, and then I'm going to follow Him. And then I followed Him. I kept His guidance. A couple years passed. Now I teach now I'm a teacher for young high school students and young adults at the church I go to, and it's such a blessing because I was always that shy person not shy because I can talk. I'm not shy at all, but shy to be in front of.
It's a different thing to be in front of a crowd.
I love the spotlight. I don't mind being in front of a big crowd, but my biggest thing is that make sure I'm giving them the right knowledge to
what
them.
If I screw up?
What if I screw up? What if I'm saying things that is not the right kind of knowledge what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's where I struggled a lot. I was like, you guys want me to teach? You want me to teach? You want me to be a teacher?
Yeah.
Me? I was like, after everything I've done, you want me to teach these people, these kids? And then I was like, and then that doubting, I'm like, no, if God wants me to be this teacher, this leader, it's for a reason. And then I started praying for knowledge. I started praying to God, help me grow knowledgeably to reach these kids, to reach all these young adults, that are going to my class. Help me to reach out to them. Help me understand them. And then that's when one of the leaders told me, you can make changes in your life by your story you've been through.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I never really fully told people everything what I've been through in my past, just because it's hard to, you know.
That kind of reminds me of Moses.
Yeah.
And how when God told them to stand up to Pharaoh and free the people, Moses had all kinds of excuses like me. I got to stutter.
Yeah.
All the excuses started coming. And ultimately, even though the people that Moses brought out of Egypt were supposed to go into the promised land.
Yeah.
The people that went into the promised land were a whole different group of people.
Yeah. Because it took 40 years.
It's a whole different generation. Yeah.
It took more time. Why?
Because they were 40 years in the desert. And just wandering. By that time, all the kids are grown.
Yeah.
And all
some
the older people
died.
died.
It's a new generation.
Even though God starts you in a point where you're leading people out, the people you're leading into the promised land are going to be completely different.
Yeah.
They're new.
Right.
And you could take that however you want. Maybe the people that are there now that you're teaching have to die to themselves and become new people. And so that's what, like, you're telling me your story about now that you're teaching, now that you got high schoolers and young adults and you're giving lessons. It just goes to show that even though you have the excuses that I'm not good, what if I say something wrong? You're still doing it.
Yeah.
And so that's a good thing.
Yeah. It's definitely a good thing because even till this day, I still try. That's what their old saying goes. It's important to stay strong with your mind. Stay strong with your mindset. Stay strong and be aware of the people you're around. Because there's some people that are for your best interest, but there's some people that are just want to see you fail. They don't, they're just there. And so that's why I was like, I had to be aware of who I'm around. You know, even at everywhere, even at church, there's people that are there, are, you know, fully that are there for you, but don't.
Yeah.
You know, and
There's
so
there's
all kinds of people,
Yeah.
and that's why everywhere you go. So that's why even to this day, I still have to stay strong and with my mindset, stay strong when the trials come, stay strong in every situation, wear your armor of God, stay strong wherever you go, you know, because this world is crazy, you know.
Yeah. There's people at church that just go for a specific thing. And I like to compare church to like a hospital, and sick people go to hospitals.
Yeah.
But there's also the type of person that just goes to get drugs.
Yeah.
For a specific medication.
Yeah.
There's people that just go because they want to be told they look good that day.
Yeah.
There's people that just go because they want to be told you played very well today. You sound great.
Yeah.
There's people that just go for a specific drug that church offers to the broken. And it's not that the drug doesn't work, it's that the person is abusing of it.
Yeah.
Because now the purpose of church has become different. Now they're looking at church like a drug dealer.
Yeah.
As opposed to a place to get healing.
Yeah. And then just like you said, people go and they have a lot of different issues.
Right.
You could say A through Z, but there's also people that has been there for a long time.
Yeah.
And
they rely too much on the drugs they're offering.
Yeah.
Instead of actually getting up and doing the work, get off your butt, do the work. They're like, we were watching this show with these overweight people, these two sisters that weigh about 1,000 pounds together.
Oh, man.
And one of them keeps going to the doctor and goes over and over and over, and she gets all of the stuff she needs to do. She knows what she's supposed to do, but she doesn't do it.
Yeah.
And so she's relying on the doctor and on her close family and people around her to do it for her when she needs to be the one to get off her butt and do it.
Yeah.
And she's just going for the comfort or going to the doctor. God knows why. Some people go to church just to be seat warmers.
Yeah.
They're just going and they're not taking any of the message and living it.
And that's why it's important to build your relationship with God. Because once you build it, you see everyone's.
What does that look like for you?
Like with me, for example, there's times that I see people that even certain leaders, certain people at church or a different church I visit that be so spiritually there, but live totally different outside of church. Like, hold up, now I just saw you on Sunday, and now you're acting totally different to me.
Yeah.
Like, didn't you just pray for me, spoke in tongues to me on Sunday, and then now you're talking to me like this? Right. You know, that's why I was like, okay, people have certain gifts, but don't have that relationship with God.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where it's like makes me sad. They were like, hold up, man. I thought we go to church to build everybody up, to build each one up, to show that true love of God. And that made me realize that not everyone has that love of God in them.
Yeah.
Not everyone's gonna be for your best interest. Not everyone's gonna be like, oh, Robert, I'm so happy God's blessed you with A through Z. God's blessed you so and so. God at this and this and this to you. But there's other people who just be like, you know. And so it's like, okay, you know. But I'm that kind of person that I'm not gonna hold you to it. If I hear things people talk about me, I don't care. Because my biggest, I don't, like I told a lot of people, I'm not there. I don't go to church for friendship. I don't go to church it's not a job for me. It's not like just I'm serving everybody. I go there for the glory of God. I do it for the honor of God. I do it as to I want to lead people in what has God blessed me with. If God's blessed me with joy and happiness, I see what people's going through at the church. I want them to see what I'm feeling. I want the younger people and people to see what I see.
Yeah.
You know, if I see someone's hurting, I want them to let them know that, hey, you will get through this in Jesus' name, you know. But not everyone's like that. And it made me like kind of kind of like not irritated, kind of like hurt. I'm like, I thought we were all supposed to, have this unconditional
what church
love.
is supposed to be versus what church is completely different.
Different, yeah.
Because church is supposed to be a lot of things.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Yeah.
All those things.
Yeah.
And this is why I've always kind of carried I've been to hundreds, if not maybe even 1,000 churches.
Yeah.
In my entire life. Every single church has flaws.
Yeah.
Different kinds of flaws. Some of them have very similar flaws. They all have a chismosa. They all have.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know what a chismosa is, it's a person who just likes to talk smack.
Yeah. And if you're that, you need prayer.
And it's just every church has flaws.
Yeah. No, definitely.
There's
no
no such
perfect.
thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's no such thing as a perfect church. And so because of that, the fact that people like to act a certain way in church, it's ridiculous. Because it's not, don't act the way you think you should in church. Act the way you are.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen.
Because if you act differently, how are you supposed to get treated?
Yeah. Amen.
God can only heal what you show.
Yeah.
Just like a doctor. If you go to the doctor because you have stomach pain, but you don't tell him you have stomach pain, you're just like, fix me.
Yeah.
And the doctor's like, well, what hurts? And you're not saying nothing.
Yeah.
Because you're ashamed.
Yeah.
You're not going to get no treatment.
You're not going to get no treatment. There's not going to be no full healing.
Right.
You can't go to church on Sunday and then act totally different the next day.
Yeah.
And still feel like God's going to keep blessing you and change your life. That's not how it works. God doesn't want no lukewarm Christian. God doesn't want you to, like, if let's say I run into a brother at church that I see on Sunday and then I run into him on Monday. That let's say I full play these big guy, and like I'm not gonna be like, oh, he's right there, I'm gonna turn the other way. That's not where we should be.
Right.
If I'm running to him, like, oh, God bless you, brother, good to see you. Wish you the best. If we communicate, talk, cool. That's how I'm gonna be. It does. Or if I run into somebody that was talking about me, I don't care. I'm still gonna show him that love. But not everyone's like,
Yeah, and I've definitely been there, man, where I have to say hi to people that I know either hate me or don't like me or have talked bad about me. And hey, what's up? Hi, how's it going?
Yeah.
And they always give the same confused look, like, hi.
What's the awkward fist bump?
Yeah, the do we handshake? Do we
awkward side hug?
Elbow? During COVID, all of a sudden everyone wants to elbow. But it just goes to show how much you've grown. Yeah. Some people like to look, he thinks he's better than me.
Yeah.
No, he's just grown.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I run into people that mature younger age, and I run into older people that still haven't matured, and they're like in their 40s already.
Yeah.
I'm like, hold on now. How old are you now? But and it's good to show that even when people grow older, they're still age is just a number, because I see people that are older, so like
I've met more immature
and dumb
people that are
like,
older.
How old are you? You're acting like this towards me, or you're acting like this to somebody. I'm like, I thought you're supposed to be older, more wiser, and it's not like that. And that's when I realized that not everyone is gonna think the same way I am.
No.
And a lot of people, that's why they want to be like everybody else in this world. Why am I gonna be like everybody else? If I'm different, I'm gonna acknowledge that. I love being different. I love living this different lifestyle, because
different means you stand out.
I'd rather stand out than to be like everybody else. I'm not like everybody else. I know I'm not like everybody else. I'd rather not be like everybody, because that's boring.
Yeah. The problem too becomes later is that people start to chase you. And I'm careful with how I word that, because you're first an outcast. If you look at it in a picture, you got a whole group of people going right and then one person going left.
Yeah.
The group of people will eventually turn to try to follow the outcast.
Like, wait, where he's going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that happens for a few reasons, because you stand out.
Yeah.
And then eventually they get bored of each other. And maybe they don't see the fact that they're all doomed in following each other.
Yeah.
But eventually when they do, they start to look around, well, who's not doomed? And they look and they'll see you.
Yeah.
And so then they end up following you.
Yeah.
Like, what did you do? That's probably why you get a lot of questions. Like, what did you do? How did you lose the weight? What was the process? And
that's the funny part, because I had people that treated me different when I was when after I overcome all that, after I came, like, fast forward a little bit, when I lost 100-something pounds, when I started looking like this, asking me for advice. Oh man, brother Robert, what'd you do? Or Robert, what did you do? Give me some advice. And so people that you will like make fun of me, people that will like treat me really bad when I was a big guy, call me every name in the book. So now I'm in the place where, okay, am I gonna be that kind of person? No, hold on now. You treated me really bad when I was like that. I'm going this way. I don't got nothing to say to you. Am I gonna act like that? Or am I gonna? I'm at a different age in my life. I'm a different person now. Like, you know what? I'm gonna stay humble. I know what God will want me to do. I'm gonna do what God wants me to do. I was like, hey brother, no problem. I did this, and this, and that. If you need any help, I got you. No problem.
Yeah.
And that's how I do it. And I still to it is now, even to people that don't deserve the help.
Yeah.
That treated me really bad when I was a younger person.
Yeah.
I still helped them. I'm not that kind of person to hold grudges. I'm not the kind of person to hold grudges or gossip or things like that. Just is not me. Yeah. So if, like, let's say someone treat me bad, will ask some advice, I would still give you advice, because you know what? We're all just trying to survive in this evil world.
Yeah.
You know, we're all trying to make a living in this world. We're all trying to progress and become better people physically. Some people are trying to grow physically. Some people are trying to grow spiritually. Some are trying to get their mind right. So it made me realize, man, everyone's trying to grow.
Yeah. In
different areas in their life. So if I could help certain people get there, that gives me happiness.
You know what made me look at things differently was when I knew how different I was in different places, and how basically I was like 3-4 faced. I had like 6 different characters. I got to a point where I didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
And my bad. Put your phone on silent, man.
Thanks a lot. No. Cut that out. No.
Yeah. No, but I went through a phase where because I knew that I was so different, and I went through like a process of change in like a year. And during that year, I went through healing. I went through, overcoming addiction.
Yeah.
I went through, self-care and started going to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
I just did a lot of things to try to change. Mm-hmm. And when I first came back to church or to God, I had a lot of like resentment towards the people that judge me.
Yeah.
Resentment towards the people that probably didn't need, for me to be nice to them or whatever. But what really made me see like, nah, you gotta try, was the fact that God pointed out to me, like, you changed in a year and you haven't seen them in like 4 years.
Yeah.
So how much more do you think they've changed?
Yeah. If they haven't changed in 4 years and it took you one year to change.
The whole point of that was for me to now, okay, I basically have to get to know you all over again.
Yeah.
I know the memory of you,
mm-hmm.
but I don't know you no more.
No, yeah.
Because I've been away.
Like that relationship again.
Right. I was away for so long that now it's like, okay, well, at the time I was like, fuck, man. Like, I was mad. Like, but these people, and God was like, I thought you changed. I did. Okay, well then treat them like they did.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, all right. Hey, what's up? How's it going? At first it was At first it was
I realized, because you haven't seen them in a long time, and they're like, hold on, is that Felipe? I know when that time where you started coming back around, I was like, hold on, hey, that's my brother. What's up, bro?
Yeah.
And we lost touch for a long time, and then because like that's why I always acknowledge people that knew me from my past till now. And it was good to see you and build that friendship again, because you knew me from the past. So when I saw you and I saw the trials you've been through and all the headaches and everything, and then now how much God has blessed you with your family, with a beautiful wife, and how much you progressed in your life, I was like, man.
I didn't know how noticeable of a difference I made in myself until people start pointing it out.
Yeah.
Because I know that when you and I were first hanging out, I remember I don't think we ever smoked weed together.
Yeah, no.
But I knew that you smoked, and I think you knew that I smoked.
Yeah.
And we would hang out, and we never got to drinking together or partying it up and stuff. We hung out with youth and stuff.
Yeah.
But,
I think it's like you said, we knew each other. We used to smoke. I think one time we went and I was never back in my day, I never was big into clubs and bars and stuff like that. But I think we did go to a bar.
That's right. I took you trying to teach you how to pick up girls.
Hey, if my current girlfriend sees this right now, I was not. It didn't work.
The night failed. Okay.
The night failed.
Dude, I remember that.
I did not have a whole face.
I think I took you to this bar which had mermaids in it.
Yeah, it was like a little mermaid up top. I was like, hold on, where did you take me? This is weird.
Yeah.
But
I took you to the hunting grounds.
Yeah, to the we've definitely a big different lifestyle.
I was a bad influence, man. Yeah. And then I show up with the family and kids and all that.
And seeing both of us, how much God has changed us. Of course, like at that time, at that particular moment where we were both going to places where we shouldn't be doing, smoking, doing things we shouldn't be doing, and how much we both changed to back then to now. And when I saw your little family and I saw how much God has blessed you.
Hey. My little family.
Oh, okay, big family now, you know.
Hey. I'm joking with you. No, I do have to admit that when I first saw you, I got like a wave of guilt.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, that dude needed somebody. And I knew you needed somebody at the time.
Yeah.
It was kind of obvious. You can tell when someone's lonely.
Yeah.
I'm like, this dude would drive straight from Natomas all the way to Elk Grove. It's like a 20-minute drive just to hang out with me because he wanted to be around somebody.
Yeah. And
what did I do? I pushed you to clubs, pushed you to drinking. I got you a job at the time. It was like at Velara.
And never again.
And then, but I gave you, that was probably about the only good thing I did for you.
Yeah.
And then, but I was a selfish kid.
Yeah.
And I remember getting like this wave of guilt when I first saw you. And I was like, and then the minute you said, hey, what's up, bro? You even dapped me up. You hugged me and all that. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. You know what?
I could forgive myself now. Like,
I was never that kind of person to be like, point fingers. Oh, you made me do this. Or you made me do that, because everyone has a choice.
Yeah.
You didn't, everyone could give a bottle of liquor to you, but it's all on you. If you're going to take it, open it, take a sip, so that's where I feel like everyone has a personal choice where that's where you're going to really need the guidance of God. Are you going to take the guidance to lift that bottle and drink it? Or are you going to take the guidance and know the knowledge of all, what?
Yeah, we all make our own choices.
More choices.
That's where, like a lot of people are raised by the same circumstances, but they do different things.
Yeah.
I've met people that are siblings, raised in the exact same same city, same mom, single mom, whatever. One of them ends up being a gangbanger and one of them ends up being a preacher. Both of them at the same time being prodigal sons.
Yeah.
Because one of them's a preacher just to prove to his mom that I'm somebody.
Yeah.
And the other one's a gangbanger to prove to his mom that she's right.
Yeah.
So they're both prodigal. And then having to see their choices are different in action, but sometimes their choices can be the same in mentality.
Yeah.
Both of them were in spite of their mom. And I think that's kind of the point of the prodigal sons too, is like that they were both prodigal.
Yeah.
The dude that was home with his dad and never left, he carried hatred and resentment when his brother came home,
and the dad bringing him like with open arms.
Yeah, and the fact that he was jealous showed his heart, and he was prodigal for that.
And then you really realize who actually needed healing.
Yeah,
both needed healing, but in their own particular situations in their life. One more than the other, one different from the other.
Yeah.
But they both needed healing.
In my perspective, I feel like the dude that stayed home needed more healing than the dude that left.
Yeah.
Because
like when the young person that left, yeah, it was foolish of him to leave, for the love of money and stuff. But him wanting to come back,
it was blatant. It was clear. His decision was I'm coming back, and even if I just barely get in, I'm gonna be with my dad.
Yeah.
He saw how different life was out there.
Yeah.
The other dude had it worse, in my opinion, the dude that stayed, because he never formed an opinion. Mm-hmm. It was always just to please his dad, never really doing it for the goodness of it, It was always working the fields. It was always doing the work and just out of sheer obligation.
Yeah.
God doesn't need you to love him out of obligation or for fear of going to hell.
Yeah.
It comes to the point where it's like, if that, I feel like it's harder to live your life close to God only because you're afraid of going to hell.
Yeah.
As opposed to living far from God, not knowing there is a hell.
Yeah.
It's one of those differences that people like to say that the dude that left was worse. Yeah. And I've heard that preaching so many times.
Yeah. But you never see the perspective of the person that stayed.
A lot of the times the person that stayed is the preacher giving that lesson.
Yeah.
And I mean, I hate to say it that way, but a lot of the times it's true. The fact that you don't see it proves where you are.
Yeah.
Because now I can't not see it.
Yeah.
Now, like reading that story, it is obvious to me that Jesus was talking about the dude that stayed more than he was talking about the dude that left.
Yeah.
Which is what the parable is about. He's talking to Jews who are going to the temple. He's talking to other believers in the Judeo, not Christian, because obviously he was Christ, but in the Jewish religion, he's talking to these priests and he's talking to, all these knowledgeable people. Of course, they're thinking of the dude that left when the point of the story was you guys. I'm telling you guys to your face,
Yeah.
And if you don't catch it, it goes to show that you might be that person.
Yeah.
If you didn't see it before, the fact that the person that had it worse and that was his heart was actually more tainted is the dude that had resentment towards his brother.
Yeah.
Because how are you supposed to love people that come to church and know nothing of God? Because they're your brothers too.
Right.
How are you supposed to love them when you have this resentment against them?
Yeah.
I grew up that way, where I would see people come to church and they would talk about, oh yeah, God saved me from this, that I partied, I did, and I'd be jealous. Like, why did they get to drink and smoke and all this stuff? And,
and I've
been told my whole life, no.
Yeah.
And that made me just more curious. And I was the prodigal son.
Yeah.
I was the one in the story that was religious. I was the one who stayed home, stayed going to church. I played the bass. I was in the band. I was doing all the stuff, serving in ministry, like doing all because of fear of going to hell.
Yeah.
I never really believed in God then.
Yeah.
Because if you believed in God, then there wouldn't be the fear of going to hell, and there'd be the fear of being away from him.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the point.
Yeah.
And so it pisses me off, man. I go on a rant.
No, you're good. And it's like you said, because we never know on the other side of it. People that live that lifestyle versus the people that never even lifted the bottle.
Yeah. And I've been both.
And then I done both. I done that where like all my life I was never like into, I was always that I would do this and do this. Okay, don't do this, do this. Until I went out, then I got curious. I was like, hold on, I never done this, and then now you get to understand like there's a lot of people that show resentment to people like that, It
goes to show that what you teach because I remember in Sunday school, it was always the 10 Commandments. It was always about the thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. It was a lot of don'ts. But the problem is that when you're teaching, whatever it is you're teaching for or against, you're highlighting.
Yeah.
And the problem is that these kids or adults are only seeing an emphasis on what you're teaching for or against. And if you're the type of preacher that preaches against things, then you're only going to emphasize the things that you're not supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Making people focus on what they're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
If you emphasize on the things you get to do, it makes people focus on the things they get to do.
Yeah.
Because then we can start steering away from the teachings of like, it's not that teaching that you shouldn't do this, that, or the other is wrong. It's the way you teach it.
Yeah.
If
like
that,
with me, I don't mean to cut you off, but with me, when I teach versus when I used to be taught, I used to go to it's like you said, I used to go to a lot of churches. I was taught by a lot of different leaders, and I never learned when people will be stuck on the Old Testament. I can't learn that way. I don't need. It's hard for me to learn when you're living this bad. You need to do this, and point the finger right back. I mean, do this and just judge me so hard.
Right.
And it's so hard as a young kid. It was hard for me to learn that way. I will go to different churches. I will go to learn, and there was a lot of preachers that would just point the finger at me and tell me everything that like just go hardcore and like point the finger at me, and then like with like, and it was hard for me to learn that way.
Yeah.
So when I started teaching and stuff, I don't like to point fingers. Mm-hmm. I will guide you, and from my background of what I've been through, I will guide you. I will help you. I will teach you God's plans for your life. I will teach you what He doesn't want you to do, what He wants you to do. I'm not gonna unless you take.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
You take the seat of the counselor instead of taking the seat of the judge.
Yeah.
That's what happens. When you're pointing, you're judging.
Yeah.
And not in the responsible way of making an assumption.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily judging. You're just making an assumption.
Yeah.
Judging is necessary. Judging is more of like now condemning.
Yeah.
You're going to hell. That's all it is when you point fingers.
Yeah.
And so your process is way different. Because
Yeah.
you're guiding. At that point, you're a counsel.
Yeah, because I and that's why. And there's so many times I helped a lot of people that way. I helped them a lot because so many times they'll come up to me. From these people, they will tell them every day they're doing bad, is wrong, to getting them pointing a lot of fingers and judging them. And then here comes the teacher showing them love, showing them abundance love, showing them careness, that I care for them, showing them guidance respectfully and loving.
Yeah.
And then you see the difference of how people teaches. You see the difference of how other people's are. And then when I started to get into like teaching, I did realize, oh man, everyone teaches different. Everyone has a different perspective on leadership, on guidance, on how they teach people. Again, a lot of people receive knowledge differently. Some people like that kind of teaching from like Old Testament style or old, things like that. But some people don't. Some people, you will reach a lot of people. You either gonna reach a lot of people that way, or you're gonna lose a lot of people.
I definitely believe in you need both the Old Testament and New Testament. And I wouldn't go as far as calling them styles, but the Old Testament points at the New Testament.
Yeah. It's like a guidance into the New Testament.
And the New Testament, you can't just go on with that without having the Old Testament as reference. And I'll even go as far as to go with other books, because the Bible goes through all kinds of stories and all kinds of stuff without fully explaining everything.
Right.
Of course, it's a book. I remember, I forget who told me. It was some old youth pastor who told me like, Bible means basic instructions before leaving Earth.
Yeah, I heard about that too.
But at some point, you got to stop with the basics. Like, you got to go into more depth.
Yeah. And
you got to stop looking at the Bible as your only source. You got to look at historical facts. You got to read books like Greek books at the time, or Roman books at the time. It was the people that were in charge of the process of the crucifixion of Jesus.
Right.
And then you can start really learning and seeing that, man, this dude did exist. This guy 2,000 years ago did die on a cross.
Yeah.
Because this dude that is writing this book is not a Christian or a believer and is writing about Jesus.
Yeah.
And it helps solidify more on your beliefs.
Right.
And it now becomes a proof.
Yeah.
Because why would someone who doesn't believe in Jesus as God or the King of the Jews write about him?
Yeah. And that's where it's very important to grow your knowledge for about. Yeah, it's good to read the Word of God, read the Bible, but it's important to gain more knowledge of other authors,
For sure.
other peoples that know more. And I see myself learning more when I get into other books. I remember I just got done reading Debate of Satan, and I helped me gain my knowledge more. It helped me open my mind of what things that are wrong in the church. There's other things that are wrong in this life, and see the flaws. I was like, oh, wow, man. And to see the knowledge that this author has and other books I read, to how much knowledge I got from those books, and came to see that, wow, there's so much knowledge we could gain from just wanting to know more.
Yeah, especially because sometimes the Bible can be boring, especially if you're reading in like the old English, version.
Old King James.
Oh, man, I remember. I grew to like it.
Yeah.
But at first, I remember the first times I started reading, and I trusted it more because at the time, based on the little amount of like research I did, I saw that it was a more accurate version of the Bible.
Yeah.
So that's why I stuck to the old King James version. And when I first started reading my Bible, like as a serious adult, I would first start reading and I just
yeah. There's times where
asleep.
I used to go to this church. I was in my cousin's church, and they're very dress a certain way, act a certain way. And I remember we were sitting in the front, and the preacher's right there, and I was a young kid at the time. I think I was like 12, and I remember like he was like reading. He was teaching, and just the way he was teaching, the way he was reading, it was just like put me to sleep. So my biggest fear, I didn't want to see him see me fall asleep, and I'm this kid and I'm like,
and I'm like, I've had those moments where I'm like, man, I respect this dude. It's either me, I'm tired, or dude, you need to find a way to make this interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Sometimes it's a lack of preparation.
Yeah,
I've met preachers that were bold enough to admit there's times where I honestly fell asleep and I was supposed to stay up and prepare the message, or maybe the pastor had someone else and they got sick, and so they were told to and they were just unprepared, and they just start going through this. They read an entire chapter of the Bible and they're like, how am I going to turn this into a mess? And everyone's just like,
yeah. And it's like you say, hey, I respect you, but hey, man, you gotta make this interesting. Which is not. It's like everything's interesting with the message, everything, but you just gotta make it more like trying to connect.
It can
with
be
the
boring.
People,
It can be boring, and I say that with respect, because what makes it boring isn't the story itself.
Yeah,
it's the monotone. It's the energy the person isn't bringing. Human beings, we're people of we have short attention spans. Sometimes I have ADHD. I talked about that a lot lately, and you can have a certain voice, and if you're not aware of yourself, you're not self-aware of how you talk and the kind of words you use. Like sometimes, even though the message is interesting, if you put it in writing, I'll read it and I'll actually be engaged. But the minute you start teaching it, it's like,
yeah.
And I think it's okay to respectfully say that sometimes it can be boring.
Yeah, definitely.
Because if it was interesting, everybody would read it.
Yeah.
That's the proof. If this book is so interesting and full of like engagement, everybody would be reading it.
Yeah.
And so it's okay to say that, you know what, because it's written by people, it can be a little monotone sometimes, especially if you get to the book of, I think it's like First Kings or Second, where they like go down the lineage and you're just like, I can't even pronounce his name, man. Like, I just got a lot of phlegm. That's all I get from all these names.
Or you don't want to sit in the front row of the preacher because you always had that one preacher that
oh my god
spits more than he talks. I'm like, wow,
that dude don't let you sleep.
No,
you get
gotta wear like a shield.
I know, you gotta wear a mask, like the full face shields.
Yeah, like whoa,
the welding ones.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
But no, it definitely. I'm so grateful for.
So let's talk about where you are now. So I know you mentioned that we started this with you saying how you started being lonely.
Yeah.
And then you kind of briefly went over the fact that you have a girlfriend now.
Oh yeah. That slipped out. But no, yeah, it's like you said, I do have a girlfriend right now. It did happen unexpectedly. We were both not looking for anybody, let's put it like that. Right. At the time, I wasn't looking for anybody. Yeah, my age was getting to me. I was like, okay, God, I'm 26. Okay, God, I'm 28. Okay, God, I just hit 30. You know,
yeah,
I'm like, you know, TikTok. You know, and there was a point where like, oh man, maybe it's just not my time right now. Yeah. And then I was, before I started talking to her, I remember one of the brothers at church gave me this analogy. He came up to me one Sunday. He's like, "What were you not talking about?" Like, no, I'm just waiting. He's like, "You know, I'm gonna give you some advice." He's like, comes up to me. He's like, "You know what? I'll give you some advice." He's like, when God made Adam, he made Adam perfect, you know, perfect man. But God did see Adam was lonely. So when God brought Eve into his life, Adam was asleep. In the same way God brought Eve into Adam's life, he's going to bring the right woman into your life when you're in deep sleep with him. When you're in your deepest relationship with him, that's when God's going to bring you the right woman he wants for your life.
Yeah, and I never looked at it like that.
And that's where I'm like, made me realize, okay, you know what? If it's not my time right now, at that time, if it's not, then God, I trust my whole life into you.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people's like, oh, my mom, everyone was like, oh, you're just picky. I was like, actually, yes, I am pretty picky because, you know, I don't want just any.
I'm glad you embraced that.
Yeah, and I embrace it. I told my mom, I told everybody I was picky. I am very picky because I don't want a woman. I want a woman that's gonna guide me forward in life with God.
Yeah.
I don't. If I went through, like I just everyone see all my story that I just said. If I overcame all these obstacles, I'm not trying to go back to it.
Yeah.
I want to build both of us with God and get stronger, and that makes a better relationship. And so I was just praying on it. I said, okay, God, just guide me. And then when we met, she was newer to the church. But how it happens is always the moms, you know. My mom. But it was funny because I met her one Sunday, just like because I was ushering, and I just said, "Oh, hi, you know, hi, nice to meet you." But and then I was like, "Oh, she's cute," you know. But then I did see good qualities in her.
Yeah,
you know, she's not like any other girl.
What qualities did you see?
Well, the qualities, my biggest pet peeve and things is I don't need an attention seeker.
Yeah,
I don't need someone that just wants attention you know, look at me what I'm wearing, look at me what I'm posting, asking questions on social media, just seeking too much attention from men.
Yeah.
If I'm at church, she's being all flirty with all these other guys. You know, it's not okay. Red flag. Oh, another red flag. Oh, another red flag. That's why I had always just been to myself because I see so many red flags before I even you know, and there's so many times. Oh, mijo. My mom, you know, mijo, mis sons, you know, and so my mom used to always be like, "Oh, mijo, this mom wants your daughter for her." I'm like, "Her, no, I'm good," you know. I'm like, "No, that's and then I'm like, and I was like, "No, it's good." And then so I met her at the church, of course, but I did good qualities in her where she was very humble. She's very family oriented. She's always caring about her parents. Because her parents are older. She dresses accordingly. She doesn't dress to be revealing. She's we have the same qualities. We love the same. We're both nerdy. We both love Marvel, Disney, all this good goofy stuff, that nerdy stuff that we both love. She recently got baptized, so she's building her relationship with Christ, and then and that's where I may realize that God may help me, put me in her life at the right moment. I guided her in a lot of different areas. She was going through a lot with I'm not trying to put her business out there, but she was going through a lot mentally.
Sure.
And then me being in her life, here comes this nice gentleman guy, nice, respectful, guiding her with God, guiding her, bringing her smile back. And because I was just building that friendship with her. My intention was not to build a relationship.
Yeah.
So I was just building that friendship with her and building her up. And then before we started like going out, like talking, we started develop feelings for each other. And then we went out a couple of times, and then I remember we went out for her birthday. I took her out the day for her birthday, and then when right there and then I just liked her. I liked her a lot. I liked her. What I did see someone. My biggest question in my life that always brought me to who am I gonna bring home to my mom? Is this mother material? Is this who I see as a future?
Yeah.
You know, because I think if my family's gonna connect with her, am I gonna be happy with her? If she's a God-fearing woman, and then after seeing all these qualities in her, I didn't want to I just liked her a lot. And then, you know, after that day, I did ask her to be my girlfriend, you know, but it's such a blessing, you know, because, you know, I never thought I was able to meet the one, you know.
Sure.
I never said that live, so I did meet the one. So, you know, so I'm proud of him, happy for it. I did struggle in my past with, you know, women I shouldn't be talking to, people that do different things. And so this was my first ideal girlfriend.
Yeah. Yeah.
The people in the past I never counted for because it was really didn't lead to nowhere.
Yeah.
It was actually people that I shouldn't be talking to.
Yeah.
And but now that I have her in my life, I definitely filled in that hole that I was seeking.
That's good.
You know, I bring a lot of happiness, a lot of joy.
It's
like you see, it's like when I walked in, when I first saw you at that church when you brought, you know, your wife now.
Yeah.
You had this happiness, this joy.
Yeah.
You found what you were missing. And then now that I have my girlfriend now I feel what you felt. Like, man, I'm happy. And I was always that happy-go-lucky guy.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but there's always something.
But there's always something that was like, you know.
Yeah.
And so now that I found her, she brought me this happiness, this joy, and vice versa. Yeah. She tells me that I brought her smile back. I brought her happiness back. That she was mistreated previously, and she never got treated this way.
Yeah.
And I'm always that hopeless romantic guy. You know, I'm always with her. I'm very like loving, very romantic. I'll bring her flowers randomly. I'll make sure she's things like that. I was grew up by my mom and my sisters raised me to be that gentleman.
Yeah.
And I can't help it. That's just who I am. So I'm always being that gentleman, you know, make sure I open the door for her, make sure I do all these good qualities of a man.
Treating her right.
Treating her right, because that's what my dad always told me. A real man acts like a gentleman. I was never that macho man. I was never claimed to be someone I'm not, because, you know, I'm not. I try and learn to be a gentleman.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. When I was first started talking to her, I was kind of nervous. I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do this? I'm gonna do that. Like, no, I'm just gonna do me. I'm gonna be who I am. I didn't spit no game. No. I was not like, hey, what's up, babe? How you doing? No, that's not me. That's not how I talk, and that's not how I talk to her. And so when I talked to her, it was just me. I talked. I'm
gonna have to ask my wife if I had game. I don't remember.
He had game, and don't lie. Just because you're married with him.
No, she better lie.
This ain't gonna be live or anything.
No, I'm good. Like we're transparent. Did I have game, babe?
Yeah.
Did I?
It was the week
It was the wing. Oh, he did the wing, huh?
Dude, at the time, oh my God. Was
that wing or like...
I had a bit of a like stutter with my face, you know. Yeah. I didn't tell her though. I was just,
it was a lazy eye.
Yeah,
it was a lazy eye.
It's still winking to this day. That's why I sit on this side, because I don't want people to look at my lazy eye. She thought I winked. I just looked down for a second.
No, but
dude, I'm hecka happy for you, man.
No, thank you, man.
I definitely see that.
It made me realize too that there's a lot of people, and you're not the only person that came up to me. There's like a lot. Actually, how I said, there's 80% of the people that came up to me at church and outside church tell me that I'm very happy for you. Tell me happy, good things. There's that other 20% that.
So now, when's the wedding?
Honestly,
I'm kidding. You
no. I'm really honest. A lot of people ask me that, and if you met the one, you know, I'm not one to be like, oh, 6 months we're getting married. Like, no,
right.
I want to be, and as you know, wedding ain't cheap.
Oh,
and I want to, if I'm going to marry her, I want to make sure we're financially stable.
Yeah.
Make sure we're both at the right moment in time to get married. She goes to Sac State, so I want her to finish school first. I'm trying to figure things out for with my career, my finances, to make sure everything's all set. You know, so there's a lot on my orbit that I'm trying to think of before I even, you know, think about marriage. And I don't want to rush into it.
Yeah.
Into it, give it time, prosper, build each other's relationship,
definitely
build each other up, and that's the best thing I'm doing. You know, but like I said, there's 80% people that are very happy for me.
Yeah.
Very joyful, give me guidance, see me from the struggles I've been in the past and give me knowledge now. But there's also those 20% that.
Man, I don't even count the 20%.
Yeah, how do I say that I feel that, not that hate, but that have that, that are not really kind of
just say it, bro. They're haters.
No, haters, but haters are gonna hate. But no, not hate, because hate's a strong word. But more like just
they're unhappy with
themselves. If they're not happy with themselves or happy with their relationship or whatever, and they just always have something ignorant to say. And I hear people, and like with me, I hear people talk about me behind my back. I hear people say smart and funny remarks about me and her, but I don't mention no names. I don't let it brush it, because, you know, I know who I am. I know I'm happy, and if I'm happy, if she's happy, if both our families are happy for each other, other people's opinions doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I remember one of the leaders at the church once said, if you don't pay my bills, if you ain't part of my life, if I'm not married to you, it doesn't really matter what you think about me.
Yeah.
You know, and so that kind of opened my eyes. Like, you know what? I don't really care what you think about me. I don't really care what you say about me and my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Because if we're happy, we're joyful, I would think other people would, if you see me happy, your ideal, like, oh, I'm happy for Robert. I'm happy these other people are not like that.
Yeah.
It made me realize too, like, okay, you know, I thought we were cool. I thought we were friends. It made me really realize that who's really like your close and good friends, who actually just there just because to see you.
I've started realizing that I don't necessarily generate attachments to people, because people change.
Yeah.
And this is why we rely on God. We make our identity in Jesus. Like, that's the only thing that we can do, because Jesus is the only one who's not going to fail us.
Yeah.
Everyone else, including my family, including friends, including whoever, my wife has failed me, and that's fine, because I forgave her, and she's forgiven me for failing her.
Yeah.
But when you rely on people, they'll always fail you.
Yeah.
And so you kind of learn to release your attachment to people when you identify yourself with Jesus. And the next time someone asks you, who are you? I'm a believer.
Yeah.
And that I believe in Jesus. I don't even go as far as to say I'm Christian.
Yeah.
Because I'm not. I'm not.
I always tell people I'm not a religious person. I have a relationship with God. It's different.
Right. I have religious tendencies.
I have religious tendencies, but I'm not a religious person. It's a difference.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, I'm not a religious person. I have religious tendencies, but having my relationship with God, and that changes certain people. And a religious person will put like the point finger at you, judge you, do all these things. That's a religious person.
I think it's hard for people that are, for lack of a better word, like secular people. It's hard for secular people to look at anybody who believes in Jesus and look at them as non-religious.
Yeah.
I feel like the only people that really recognize the term religious are the people either in religion or close to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it's really hard. And the only people I don't identify myself as religious is to other religious people.
Yeah.
But the people that don't know it, don't believe in God or are secular and don't have relationship, never even got to know, or really they didn't grow up in church. Yeah, I'm religious.
Yeah.
In their eyes, for sure.
Yeah.
Because to them, anything that has to do with spirituality is religion. Or, they don't understand the concept of idolatry being religious.
Yeah.
The way you follow and idolize football, that's your religion.
Yeah.
And that's where you kind of learn to segregate. Well, I feel like this is a good place to kind of mellow out.
Yeah.
We did pretty good, man. We did an hour and a half of content. I'm happy with it.
No, I'm happy.
I'm happy you came through. I'm happy you were vulnerable. I'm happy you shared a bit of yourself. I know that to go over 30 years of
definitely
life, it's hard to put in.
Definitely to put into like an hour, and I could have kept talking,
sure.
especially in a certain subject where you could connect and talk about with the right person. You could go on for hours of just talking, but I'm grateful for giving me the invitation to come on your podcast. I'm happy and truly blessed to call you and your wife, family, and friends. I'm happy to see how much God has blessed you and your family, and continue to bless your family and this podcast in Jesus' name. And just continue to do what you're doing. Continue to have God in the middle of every situation in your life, and just keep striving, keep pursuing forward, and just know trials will come, difficulties will come, but don't let that get in the middle. Even I said this once in a young adults class, even the devil knows that what God's plans for your life, but he's gonna keep pulling you back from that finish line because he doesn't want to get you there.
Yeah.
So just keep moving forward, and you'll get there in Jesus' name.
Man. Appreciate it.
Man.
Thank you again. You shared where you come from. You shared what you did. You shared where you are.
Yeah.
That's about as much as I can ask of anybody that comes on here. So go ahead and let people know where they can find you.
Well, you can
put your links out there.
Yeah. Well, you can find. I only have Instagram, so you can find me on Instagram. There's Roberto916 at Instagram. So follow me, hit me up if you ever need some advice, guidance. Some weight loss or whatever you're going through. Just shoot me a DM, and help each other out in this life.
Dope. See everybody around. Peace.